Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. Welcome to another Bridge Researchers. Okay, we are going to have today with us Giuliana Costa, who will talk about her experience on performing Penta in two different cities in Africa. Okay, so but before, let's go here and check a little bit about what you have today and what's our project and who you are for everybody that's a first comer. Okay, just a second here. Yeah, now it's moving the slide. Okay, so welcome to the Bridge Researchers. Okay, uh, the Bridge Researchers, it's a project that's been created to bring together conscientiology researchers from all over the world to facilitate knowledge exchange and sharing of interassistantial experience. This is a free online talk and is held every first Sunday of the month, where the speakers presents a topic of self-research. Today, we are going to talk about Penta. Okay. So, and who we are, okay? Uh, ISIC is Interassistantial Service for the internationalization of Conscientiology. We are a non-profit organization run by volunteers formerly within the ICCC. ISIC has the status of pre-consciential-centric institution or pre-CI. We have our motto, okay? It's opening doors and building bridges, okay? We want to connect the people that are linked to the conscientiology ideas all over the world, okay? And even if you are not physically close to one of the consciential-centric institutions, okay, well, that's we have the online alternative to keep the people connected, and then that's the idea of this event today. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about our presenter of the day. Okay, Giuliana Costa. Okay, born in 1977 in Itapira, Brazil. Okay, so she has a philosophical doctor in geology, MBA, and she's a volunteer of Conscientiology since 2010. She's a conscientiological teacher and Penta practitioner since 2015. She's an author of 19 verbetes of the Encyclopedia of Conscientiology and author of the book Autobiography of a Consecutive Personality Experiencing Africa through the lens of the consciential paradigm. This book is available only in Portuguese and is currently in translation to English. Okay, so let's welcome Giuliana here. Giuliana, Isaac would like to simply to say how we are happy to have you on board here. Okay, welcome. Okay, and we are happy that you can share our experience with all our audience all over the world. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you very much for your time to hear and know about my experience with Penta in Africa. I know there's not much about that has been published or that have been shared with the general public. So my intention today is to share those experiences and let you know how that works. Um, And I want you to take a chance not to believe in anything that I'll show to you today. Those were my experiences in Africa. It might be differ from one person to another. So take your chance if you have the opportunity to come to the continent in any country in Africa to register, to record your experiences. And maybe next time you'll be here sharing yours with us. Next. So here's some contents of my presentation. So I'll show my experiences of Penta that happened. I put the word simultaneously in Mozambique and South Africa because I was working in both countries. So I'll share my parapsychic and sensation comparisons between those two countries while practicing Penta. I will highlight some experiences that for me were quite interesting that I never had before. What was the backlash of Penta in those countries and the lessons that I learned with those experiences as well. Next. So the objectives of these experiences is mainly to exchange those experiences, demystify Penta in Africa, compare two different methodologies of Penta practice. So I'll show the different methodologies of South Africa and Mozambique, two different cities. I cannot generalize that for the whole continent or for both countries. And motivate Penta practitioners to share their experiences. So if you are a Penta practitioner, think about to share your experience. Maybe you think they're not important, but it is quite relevant to show people that maybe they are experiencing the same sensations and parapsychism and other things you might think it's interesting to share. So next. Okay, so what happened? So in 2018, I was doing my PhD in Johannesburg. I had this work opportunity to go back to work in the mining industry that I was away for a while. So I took this career opportunity to come back to work because I was not interested in the academic area. So from the period of 17 October 2018 to the 23rd December 2019, I was flying in, fly out from Johannesburg to Tete in Mozambique. Next. So this is only the map to show where those localities are. So in the first map, you see the African continent map with this red circle. You can see now on the other map is just a zoom that I'll show where those localities are. So I used to fly from the Overton International Airport in Johannesburg to Tete Airport. It took about 2 hours and 20 minutes, not actually 2 hours, but just for you to see where those places are. They're quite distant. Next. So what is the Holothosene of those places? So here I'm just showing highlighting some differences that I picked up in those places. So I'll just read quickly. Tete before, it's mainly a coal mine place. It's a mining city with multiple nationalities from people all over the world, mainly from Brazil, a lot of Brazilians, Chinese, Australians, South Africans, Portuguese, and Indians. So those are the people living and working Tete, most of them in the same condition of work that I was, fly in, fly out from Tete to their correspondent countries. It's a city that is a trading area that it's a convergence to 3 country borders, Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. So it's quite easy for you to take a road trip to go to any of those countries quite easily. There's a lot of poverty in Tete. It's interesting because I lived there in 2012 and I could see how the place progressed with the mine industry. But anyway, the progress didn't arrive to everybody at the same time. So there's a lot of environmental pollution. There's a lot of lack of basic human needs like sewage, public garbage collection. You can see animals being abused, like being selling in open markets, and kind of some cruelty, like the way they've been transported in motorbikes, in those vans full of people, full of whatever you can think they can transport. It was like quite interesting to see that. And on top of that, you could see a lot of dogs sleeping on the streets, but they are not. They're dying of hunger because they didn't have anything to eat. And there's a lot of prostitution and drug addiction, mainly alcohol, because there's nothing to do in Tete besides drinking. That was a problem that the mine was checking every single person in the morning, every day, for the alcohol levels. So if you have some alcohol, it doesn't matter the level, you're not allowed to work. You can even lose your job. So the mine was quite restricted on that aspect. So on the other side is a place rich in hydro energy, mainly because of the Zambezi and the Ruvugwe rivers crossing the city. And beside of that, you can see, like for me, what I call gardens of baobab trees, which is quite beautiful, and a lot of birds. So there's a positive side of that as well. And on the African religion, it's quite normal to practice rituals. So mainly people go to Tete, they land in Tete to go to a province called Sangoa to do ritual practices. So it's quite interesting to see how they use that to get things based on those traditional, very old religion rituals. On the other hand, we have Johannesburg in South Africa, which is considered an African metropolis. It's a financial capital of the country. It's like, if I can compare to Brazil, it's like Sao Paulo. There's a basic infrastructure very well developed. We have sewage, we have garbage collection, we have the traffic very well organized, but we don't have good drivers, I cannot say that. The orange of the city was on gold mines during the 18th century, so it's a mining city historically, it's not anymore. Now it's considered more a financial capital, so most of the companies in the country have offices here in Johannesburg, so it's a business place. But the Holothosene is based on the racial segregation that was implemented by the apartheid regime that was over in 1994, but you still feel that heavy Holothosene in the city. But there's something very interesting about Johannesburg that it's an urban forest, is very rich in phyto energy. So it's interesting because it's not like Sao Paulo where you can hear the noise like 24 hours. It's quite, in a way, silent, and you can hear the birds all day over. And Johannesburg in South Africa is considered the African gateway. So whenever you want to go in Africa, you travel to Johannesburg and you take a flight connection to any African country. So this is the door to get in when you come to Africa, mainly. Next. So here's some pictures of Tete. This is the bridge Samora Machel. It crosses the Zambezi River. Just a curiosity, there's 4 bridges crossing the Zambezi River, and 2 of them are placed in Tete. So this is the traffic in the morning going to the mine because there was an incident with a dam that the other bridge crossing the Ruvugwe River was interdicted. So we have to drive more than 30 kilometers to to get to the mind every morning. Next. This is how Tete looks like. You have some paved roads, but most of them are not. You can see rubbish all over, animals, motorbikes. So driving in Tete was a challenge because you have to be very aware of animals. People just drive whatever they wish to do, motorbikes, vans, and all sort of things. So this is the market in Tete. So it's quite common to see that. And you can see there's a lot of poverty. You have people selling SIM cards on the streets. So it's quite unpleasant, to be honest. You cannot smell the picture, but I can tell you the smell in some places are not that good. Next. This is Johannesburg. You can see the trees. It's like a forest. You see a couple of roofs of the houses. In the other picture, you have a street in the neighborhood of Melville, where I lived for a while. And you can see the jacaranda trees blooming, which is quite beautiful in October, November. So it's a very nice place to live, I can tell you. Besides all the problems here, I think it's a quite beautiful city, believe or not. Next slide. This building is the Witwatersrand University in Johannesburg, one of the universities. The other picture is a view from the University of Johannesburg, where I was studying. I just took this picture because you can see in the background the old CBD of Johannesburg, and you can see trees all over the place. Wherever you go, you have a tree. So it's quite a beautiful city comparing to Tete. You can see the difference between those two places. Next slide. So what happened to my penta? So before I go to Tete, I was very concerned about practicing penta there because of the high level of African rituals practiced there. So I had this experience. I don't remember if it was a couple of days or weeks before going to Tete, but I felt that sensation after one day. I finished penta, I was in my bed, and I felt that sensation that I was being wrapped in a plastic. That for me was an encapsulation, was a kind of thing that I think it was for my para safety, because my decision to go to Tete was not to have fun. I was going there to work. So I was putting myself in a situation that was not quite safe. So I think the helpers encapsulate myself. So I felt I have that sensation. And one thing that I had in mind was if I faced some danger over there, I would quit my job. So I wouldn't stay there if something might happen to me, even if I stay without any job. So that was one thing that I had in mind. But okay, I took a chance. I went to Tete to work, and let's see what happened. Next slide. So here's some parapsychic phenomena that I experienced in Tete and Johannesburg. In one column, you see Tete. I experienced a lot of clairaudience, clairvoyance, ectoplasmy, neurological ectoplasmy, polarization, and post-penta projections, which were quite common in Tete. I just highlight the most common here. There was other ones, but the thing about this slide, it's about the importance of your records of your penta practice. So if I didn't take any notes, I wouldn't be able to show that for you, and I would forget for sure. So those experiences for me, especially in Tete, I'm not reading all of that, but I can tell you that when I'm reading that now, I remember that there was much more energy there comparing to Johannesburg. If you look, um, the experiences that I had in Tete, I didn't have in Johannesburg, for example, clairaudience. I didn't experience that in that period. Um, Ectoplasmy, I always have ectoplasmy, but it was like fewer comparing to Tete. Polarization, I had some, and I didn't experience any post-penta projections, which for me was quite interesting. So my conclusion, I can say that, I don't know, is that when I was in TET, everything was intense. There was a lot of interassistance to be done because there was nothing there. I was not aware of anybody practicing penta in TET. I cannot say there was anybody there besides me, but I think the chance of that is quite low. And when I was in Johannesburg, the penta was like um, not to relax, but to clean, to have more peace, more calmness comparing to TET, because it was a roller coaster. I'll show in the next slides. Next, please. So here's some of sensations during Penta in TET and Johannesburg. Some of them are similar, like discomfort in the umbilical chakra region. I always felt that hollow inside my tummy, like I was very, very hungry, but I was not. After Penta, it was like nothing. That hearing of the sound that for me was the sound of the energy that I was exteriorating, like vroom, vroom, vroom. I had once this paraperception that I was in one of the parapsychic rooms at the CEAEC that I never experienced in Johannesburg. And I've got this parasino, that intense tinnitus inside my hearings, the perception of muffled sound inside my head, like my head was like blocked, and a strong energetic pattern, intense in all penta practices. That's what I said before. That was like I felt there was a lot of energy during my penta. And in Johannesburg, it was like calmness and peace. And there's exteriorization of energies commonly through the cardio chakra, palmo chakras, and umbilical chakras. So those are the sensations that I experienced there. Next slide. And here's some of highlighted experiences. So just after I arrived in TET, there was this audience that I experienced on that date, on the 12th November 2018, that I hear that voice, male voice speaking English. It seems that I was listening a radio, and he was talking about a building ready to receive people. And there was a synchronicity that on that week was happening the intermissivist meeting in Strasbourg in France. And I questioned myself if there was some relation with that event, because I was thinking to go. People was like, are you not going, Giuliana? Maybe you can go. I said, no, I'm not sure. Let's see what is gonna happen. I was not sure about my situation. I was looking for a job. I was doing a PhD. So financially it was not that very positive, but I could go. But because I found the job I was working, I didn't go to that event. The interesting about that and the relation to this event in Strasbourg is because he was talking about a building to receive people. I don't know, maybe because of the event happening or something for the future. Let's see. Next slide. Clairvoyance. So this is interesting because on the 1st of May 2019, I was involved in a course, in a conscientiological course that I was participating as a teacher. It was an online course for a group of people in Portugal. And I had those two young consciexes observing my penta. And for me, they were related to the course that I felt in that moment during my penta. So it was interesting to observe them. Like they were a couple, to be honest. They were young, but a couple. Maybe they were studying in the intermissive course. I don't know. But it was something that caught my attention at that time. And this one was quite interesting because I had this perception of this team of helpers that I tried to translate it here into English to the forwarders, but in Portuguese is os encaminhadores. I saw them during my penta on the 24th of February 2019. Then I came to Johannesburg to my days off, 2 weeks days off here. And one day practicing penta, I had this sensation that I was in Mozambique doing practicing penta in my room in Tete. And that was quite expressive. And during that day, looking my WhatsApp messages, I saw pictures of Tete completely flooded. I was like, what is happening there? What happened to people? So what happened to my place there? Oh my God, I'll arrive there and I'll find my place flooded, completely destroyed. So what happened was that a dam in Malawi was open and caused the flooding of part of Tete. That people living by the Revubwe River were affected. In fact, around 50 people died in that disaster, let's say like that. Dozens of people displaced, mainly like those poor people living in those, I cannot call houses, but those small places they live. They lost everything. I had some colleagues at work, they lost their houses, their places. So it was a synchronicity, and I think this team of helpers were like prepared to that. I don't know, maybe in a way I could contribute to help those people that lost their lives in that event, in that flooding. Next slide. What was the backlash of my penta? Not only of penta, but I'll tell you what I was doing at that time. I had a lot of physical effects, especially broken cars. So I was managing a project that all the cars were broken, and I couldn't have other way to go to work, like asking people to drop me at work. I was called incompetent by my boss. Everybody was very upset. We didn't have spare cars. We have to do like plan B, plan C to have cars work in the mine, because the project I was work was like collecting samples, bringing to the mine, doing the analysis. If we don't have cars to collect the samples, we could stop basically the operations of the mine. I also have abrupt movements of objects, things moving where there's no air, everything was closed, so there was no reason for objects to be moving. I always had this clairvoyance of consexes with darker psychosoma. I had that a couple of times. And one thing that was quite difficult to deal was the mental confusion, the lack of lucidity. Because sometimes I thought I was very lucid, and on the other minute, something happened and showed me, Giuliana, you need to pay more attention. There's something happening here. And sometimes I just stopped um, working the energies and try to be more aware and be vigilant of my thoughts and things like that. But it was quite difficult. Next. Subtraction. So what happened? So in the Penta manual, um, you can stay some days without practicing Penta. According to the manual, 65 days per year, let's say that. In Tete was 65 days in 14 months. In Johannesburg, I didn't practice for 8 days. The reason for that, I have this hypothesis, which is very plausible, that is extraphysical pressure, mainly because I was doing Penta, I was doing my PhD thesis, which was the cherry on top of the cake, besides the Conscientiological book review and the Conscientiological course that I was working as I was volunteer as an instructor. So for me, I was doing a lot of things as well that for me, I was not aware of my parasafety. And this causes insomnia, anxiety, especially when I had to go back to Tet, and a lot of headaches. So I was like in a roller coaster, like I said before, because I think I didn't take care of my parasafety. I think I did risk myself a lot. I don't know if that was positive or negative, but that was the experience I had at that time. I could say no to the conscientiological course, but at that time there was no much people interested to volunteer to the course. So I took that challenge for myself. And the conscientiological book review, I was at the end, I had to push to finish that, and the PhD thesis as well, because that was my nightmare at that time. Next. I also have a backlash when I ended up my contract. So in December, I was with burnout, to be honest. I was so tired. I was so stressed. I was in a point of nervous breakout. But my boss wanted me to renew the contract. I said, no, I cannot handle this anymore. I don't want to be sick. I don't want anything worse happen to me. So I prefer to go back home and continue looking for another job. So I did that. When I got here in Johannesburg, then I had this projection. I was back in TED and I was quite like, uh, I was like questioning the helper that was with me. Why you bring me back here? Why you didn't show? Why you didn't want to show me this place before? So I went to a place where there was very excited people about the new paradigm of conscientiology. They were having classes. And I don't know if that was a result of Penta. Maybe I could contribute. I don't take, I just take that as a hypothesis, but it's possible. But that was interesting because I think the helpers wanted to show me that, look, what you did had some positive results. I like to think that, and I think this is a possibility. Why not? So sometimes if we think our penta is not that great, but I think it is because when you look to TED, for example, in this experience that I'm sharing with you now, I think we can do something that we're not aware that is quite positive and relevant. Next.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
Juliana, we just have one question here coming from Ana Ruiz. Okay, and I think that goes in the direction of we've just commented here. Did you notice if there were different helpers or extra physical team in your Penta in TET?
Yes, I identify that group of consciences of helpers, um, but I didn't see any helper like this is the helper in Johannesburg, this is the helper in Tete. What I think what happened was the helpers were so excited that I was doing penta there, and that's why is the reason I had those post projections in Tete. I had like two or three of them that was quite relevant. I can remember very clearly, but I never had in Johannesburg. So I think there were quite different, I don't know, purposes of my penta at that time. Because I think when I was here in Johannesburg, I was kind of recharging myself to face that again. So it was, I think, was that, but I cannot say there was a specific team of helper here and there. Only that helpers that I mentioned before that I could clearly see them, and I think that was relating to that damn incident where a lot of people died. I think so. Yeah.
And another question from Virginia. Okay, can you share with us your experience in the Comunex Tete?
Um, the only experience that I had was that one that I mentioned in this slide. I cannot say it's a Comunex because I was walking to get there in the streets of Tete, in the Para streets of Tete. So they're quite similar to the actual streets of Tete. So for me, it's just like maybe proto school for conscientiology. But I can say that what I remember, I could see like a room where I saw some figures of Catholic saints. So considering that Mozambique was colonized by Portuguese, I think those people were from the Catholic Church, and now they were excited to be exposed to Conscientiology. So there was another room where the door was closed, where the class was happening, but I didn't get there because I thought to myself, if they pay to the course, I think it's not right for me to get in and interrupt them. I just spoke with the people like they were like secretaries and coordinators and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
another one from Patrícia Barbosa. Can you make a relation between your penta in these places and the Hilbex?
Yeah, I think one thing related to rearbacks and penta practice in Africa is there is a huge deficiency of interassistantiality through penta. Because in Africa you have donations. You donate everything to Africa, and I think this is a mistake that we need to stop in a way and clarify them. Look, you need to be responsible for your evolution. We cannot keep donating everything for you because it's not helping you. Look, the African continent as a whole. So that was like a very, very small view, an opportunity to see how important it is to be serious when it comes to do real interassistantiality in Africa. I only had this experience in one place. Imagine the rest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Giuliana, we have some pressure here on the translation of your book. Okay, Adina Oprea, she's asking about: have you identified any previous life you lived in Africa?
Yes, for sure. That's what I'm telling in my book. So I hope I can share my story with you in English. But yes, I had a previous life here in South Africa that I'm telling the whole story in my book. I had also other heterocognitions in the Sahara Desert, but that was not like so evident that this one I wrote in my book. But yes, I had.
Okay, Thank you. Let's go back to the presentation.
Okay, so next. So final remarks. So Penta in challenging Holothosene. It's difficult because there's a lot of traditional African rituals that it's quite, let's say, have deep roots into the African mysticism in the Holothosene. So I think conscientiological re-education is quite important. Poverty is something that it's, I don't know how to tackle that in Africa, but there's a lot of things to be done by governments. That's the key because you cannot think properly if you don't eat. So that's one thing. If you don't have a proper nutritional diet, it's difficult for you to think in another thing other than eat. Because what I've seen in Tete is like the kids, they hunt rats to eat. And I saw that. Nobody told me that. I saw that. So when you see children eating rats, so how can you tell them about evolution? What the heck is that? Sorry about the word, but it's difficult. Yeah, there's a lot of basic human needs to be attended. At the same time, I think it's not something that is happening aside of evolution. So it's difficult. It's difficult to handle those things separately. Low consciential level. So the thing is, people. Let's talk about. I just remember now about the Catholic Church in fact. So they go to those churches, those guys they called sangomas that practice African rituals. They go to church to suck people's energy to do things that are very not cosmoetic. Uh, Demand for interassistance in Africa. I think there's a lot of helpers there, but if you, there's no many Penta practitioners, it's difficult for them to do anything further than it's on their power to do. So that's why I think um, not only donate but clarify people is quite important. It was like a challenge for myself to self-evaluate my energetic mastery. That I still have a lot to learn, a lot to mastery, and I need to do a lot of recycle, interconsciential recycle in that matter. Burnout syndrome, like I said, I was doing so many things. I wake up like 4:30 in the morning. I arrive at home 6:30. I had a shower, I sit, and then I worked on my PhD thesis. When that was finished, and I was preparing conscientiological classes, so it was like a roller coaster. I think I did a lot. I think that was kind of mistake in a way, but that was done. Parasafety was not well evaluated, so I didn't think about that before. Well, I was concerned about that going to TED, but when I was there, I was so involved in other activities that I didn't um, I didn't take care of myself properly. Um, and the proof that Penta is possible to be done as exception conduct in the way that I did, because I have like a home here in Johannesburg and I have a base in Tete. I was going there every night. It was like a safe place, clean, so it was very well maintained. But I wouldn't recommend that to anyone unless you know you are very well prepared. So just assume the risk you are prepared to take. So I think I consider that as an exception to the conduct of Penta. But anyway, I had my experience, and that's it. I'm here today telling you that. I hope you can do that, not only in Africa, but in other continents. Yes, yes, Marcelo.
Yeah, just one question. Talking here about parasafety, Juliana. Okay, you did not consider it very deeply. Okay, you just went and you dove into the challenge. Okay, if you could step back and you could give a recommendation to the people that are watching us, okay, what would recommend that would could be good tools or good precautions regarding parasafety if you could repeat again your endeavor?
Don't do PhD. If you're doing PhD, finish first and then do something like that. Because that was the cherry on top of the cake. That was an extra, how do I say, assédio? How do I say in English? Assédio?
Intrusion.
Intrusion. Yeah.
Yes.
Because my professor was quite hard on me. But I would consider conscientiological classes. I think that was, I think after the class of projection, then all things just become worse. That was the time when all the cars started to broken. And that was like, that was a lot of pressure at that time. And that was the time I started to talk with the intruders. I said, look, guys, I'm here until December. I decided not to stay here longer than that. So please, you do your stuff, I do my stuff. I'm not intervening in anything you're doing. Okay? So after that, things start to to become like more easier. But anyway, I would recommend. I wouldn't recommend. If you're doing penta, do penta. I don't know. I think the conscientiological classes added a lot more pressure.
Got it. And we have another question from Patrizia Barbosa. Could you explain how you are managing parasafety now? Any tips those abroad? Okay. Besides a
Yeah.
PhD finish, okay, what would you recommend?
um, okay. I never stopped my penta. I never thought to stop. Even here, I've got pressure, but it's completely different. The thing is, when I am involved in conscientiological classes, then the things become heavier. So when I'm doing like, when I am participating as a teacher, I try to select as many classes as possible. I don't say no. I do participate. I do face the challenge, but I am much more careful now. And I don't keep accepting all the events. I just think to myself, no, I need to select and be more careful. Because sometimes things are quite okay, but other times I feel more pressure. So in those periods, I just stay like more away of giving conscientiological classes. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
I just balance things. Yeah.
got it. Okay. Uh, okay. I think that it's the end of presentations. If anybody on the audience would have more questions, okay, we are okay. Feel free to put on the chat, and then we can add them to Juliana. And then, Juliana, one thing that I need to tell you is I had experience not in Africa. I had experience to doing Penta in the Middle East in Dubai, and it was an extreme heavy Holothosene that I faced there, and it was very difficult. Okay, for me. So I need to tell you, you have all my respect on doing Penta in Africa, because I have a slightly idea about what could be, and then I have a clear view that you only really have the full magnitude about what we are facing when you are really inside it sometimes.
Yeah. So one thing about parasafety is about your behavior and your thoughts. That's quite important. For example, in Tete, there's a lots of Brazilians, lots of parties, full of alcohol, music, and other stuff going on. So I went to some parties. I did socialize with the Brazilians, of course, but at certain point, you just, now it's time to go home. Yeah, and don't get involved in too many things, especially gossiping. Brazilians gossip a lot in Mozambique, talking about the locals in a negative way. So this is kind of very disrespectful because you're earning your income, your life in their country. So this is something basic. You need to respect the place you are, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's in a place like that. It doesn't matter. You need to respect people living there. Yeah.
Yeah, respect is key. Another
Yeah.
question from Virginia. Today it's Mother's Day. Okay, at least in Brazil. Uh, Africa is called Mother Earth. Okay, can you comment about that?
Yeah. Africa is the cradle of the humankind. So today is Mother's Day. It's not next Monday. Okay. I need to call my mother. So I think, yeah. So, um, yeah, the thing about Africa is we all have a relation with Africa because if the human race was born here, we're all Africans in a way. So the thing some people have this prejudice about Africa is because black people, poverty, and they don't look at the positive things. Like I show the pictures in Johannesburg. Before I lived here, I never saw that. I never knew that Johannesburg was a urban forest, which is quite nice. So you need to change your view about things. So I think there's a lot of prejudice about Africa. And if it's our mother, so how do you look to your mother?
Okay, another question here from Anna. Which strong trait do you think that helped you more in doing your Penta?
Uh, I think it's the energy. And I think what helped me was like I was always vigilant about my thoughts, which I think is quite important. And being like, I don't know if I can say that, cosmetic, but behave yourself in a way that you don't give chance to something happen for you. Because the biggest backlash in that for me, in a negative way, was that my lucidity was quite compromised. Like I was not lucid the way I should be most of the time. And you do silly things and you don't see it. It's amazing. You don't see it. I think you need to be very, very lucid in those situations.
Thank you. Question from Kelly Lopez. What did you change in your life after this experience that you consider very relevant for your self-research?
I think that I'm not prepared for that kind of place yet, because if that is here in the intraphysical dimension, imagine in the other dimension, the extraphysical dimension. I don't think I'm not prepared. I still have a lot to learn, a lot to recycle, a lot to mastering my energies, and um, I'm quite serious on that. Like investing myself, always self research. It never ends. Yeah. But now I know what to do next time.
And here, a quick comment from Patricia, just for you to relax, okay? You did not forget it yet, okay? Virginia, it's next Sunday. Mother's Day is not today, okay? Like here in the United
Yeah,
States will
but
be also next
yeah,
Sunday.
no, he is not Mother Day. Yeah, I went to the mall today. I saw some advertisements, a lot of things. Yeah, but I'm looking the calendar now. No, it's not. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I'll
okay.
call my mother anyway.
That's something always good to do it.
Yeah. So call Africa, like in your Penta sometimes. There was that project for international Penta, you adopt a
Yeah.
country, but you can adopt a continent. Wow.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then one thing that I would like to take the opportunity here is to invite everybody here to talk about being international, okay? For the third International Week of Conscientiology, okay, in Cognopolis. This year, 2021, it will be a full online event in August from the 20 to the 29. The event will take place in English, okay, with simultaneous interpretation to Portuguese and Spanish, okay. More information, just reach out to our ISIC site, that's isicons.org, okay. And well, Giuliana, it would be great to have you also in this event. Okay, participate with us. Okay, it was an excellent presentation on behalf of Isaac and everybody that's watching us. Okay, I would like to thank you for sharing your experience and giving uh, this lecture about this event of doing the Penta in two different countries. Okay, it was great.
Yeah, I think whatever opportunity we have, we need to think about safety and parasafety. You don't go to a war zone. I wouldn't go in a war zone. I think there's, of course, there are exceptions. Like in this place, Tete was quite poor. I knew that because I lived there before, but I was not practicing Penta. And I could see some programs in the place, but poverty, some things didn't change. And things like the way the Brazilians were living there for me were quite extravagant for the place. Some things get better. You could see the cultural exchange that was positive, but in a way, there was you could see a lot of prejudice coming from the Brazilians about the African people, which for me doesn't make any sense because we are a mixture of Africans, Europeans, indigenous people. So, as Brazilians, I think we need to think and talk more about Africa if you want to do like interassistance in the continent, because these were two countries. We're not talking. I didn't do Pent in the whole continent. Okay, only two cities in two different countries. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when I talking about prejudice, that's something that takes place in Brazil, United States, in several places. And then I have another question from Patricia. Prejudice is a common topic related to Africans. Do you have any experience with this in your Penta?
Um, I don't know in what way. I don't know if she could detail more her
Yeah,
question.
yeah. If you want
Um,
to be more
in
specific,
your
Patricia, or if it's just a
Penta,
general
yeah,
question.
yeah, because if we think about helpers, um, a person in related to the conscientiological studies mentioned that, oh, there was a helper with a turban. Oh, what kind of people? I said, God, if you have a prejudice with a helper with a turban, imagine it's a kind of prejudice. So I didn't see like any like helper that I could say, wow, what kind of helper is that, or person, or any consciousness that was helping in any of my 10th sessions. But Yeah, intraphysically, there's a lot because I know there's a lot of people in Conscientiology that is studying Africa right now, and there's a lot of mythification about Africa. People are very afraid about things. It's not like that. It's a continent on planet Earth. Of course, there's a lot of barriers, and I think that kind of concern is because they don't know the place. They never been in the continent for real. Like coming to South Africa is not really coming to Africa, and you see that, you realize that when you go to other African countries, they've been developed a lot. There's a lot of Chinese investment here, which is quite dubious anyway, but things are progressing here, you know. Like, I think there's this view of Africa as a black, dark continent, negative. Just try to change your mind and see positive things. There are lots of beautiful places to see. There's a lot of energy, fetal energy, hydro energy. It's just to change your view about those things, because the real backs is happening everywhere in different levels. It never stopped. It's just a matter for you to wake up for that. And if you want to do something, it's great, but yeah, be prepared. Um, I don't know. Let's take my example. I think I'm quite, and how do I say, what is the word for that? Not courageous, but sometimes I think I'm stupid to put myself in that kind of situation. I think other people wouldn't do that and would say, uh, what are we thinking about, you know? But the thing was, I wanted to go back and work in my area of expertise. And in fact, I had to take that opportunity because I don't know when I'll find another job like that. But I think you need to be very careful and think again about your safety and your parasafety. Yeah. And if you feel like, I think I'm not prepared, you have doubts, don't do it. Yeah. I was
Yeah,
concerned, but then I did risk a lot, I think.
yeah, and that's something that would add to it is that you going back to the Penta manual, and then anyone that it's the Penta, the personal energy task, it's new for the person. The person can reach out to the Penta manual. We have an edition in English that it's available on the site of Editaris, and it's important to reinforce that before going to a challenge but like that, it's important to have your Penta consolidated in the place where you are where you were before.
Yes, and look, I have 6 years of Penta. I spent 14 months in a hole, like fly in, flying out from Tete, from Mozambique and South Africa. This is not the ideal situation. If you read the manual, you need to be like um, in a very stable place. There's nothing about the way that I did Penta that is mentioned in the manual. So that's why I reinforce that. If you're not sure to do something like that, don't do it. Yeah. If you want to do something similar in Africa, choose one country and be only in that country, in that place. Don't fly in, fly out, and go all over. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know a lot of people now are interested in Africa. So yeah, it's a good experience. If you want to spend like a year here doing that, would be great. Yeah. But one thing about this presentation of mine was to motivate people abroad to talk about Penta, because sometimes people say, "Oh, how is your Penta in Africa?" I said, "It's normal for me. I'm used to that. So there's nothing special. It's just interassistance in a different place. But how is that? What is your experience? So we can compare." and maybe somebody had the same experience that I have, and maybe there's something different we can add to the practice, something that is not the exception in the conduct. So maybe that it's possible and reliable.
And then a comment here from Anna in the book of Factfulness. They talked about this, Juliana. We don't know much a lot of the facts that happens in other countries, as in Africa. Our view based in
In
facts.
fact, yeah, for example, there was a problem in the north of Mozambique that is happening now for at least 3, 4 years. When I was in Tete, it was already there. So there was like a war in Pemba. And now it was like a huge media sensation here in South Africa because a South African man was killed there while working the oil and gas fields. So, but that was happening for a while. I said, but why are they talking about that like right now? So there's a lot of politics, a lot of that media covers in a way that is so overwhelming that it doesn't make any sense. So we need to be careful about media, especially now during this pandemic. Things are so exacerbated in a way that put everybody in alert for no reason.
Perfect. And Patricia
Yeah.
just saying here, despite not being the ideal situation, things worked out. It's encouraging.
Yeah, look, if you want to come to Africa, do your penta here in Johannesburg, in Cape Town. So I did penta in other South African places, like in Cape Town. So I went to a wedding, so I was staying in a friend's house. So I was sleeping in a room, so I practiced my penta, and I saw slaves there. I never seen slaves in my penta, but in Cape Town, there was lots of slaves, and then um, the Holothosene in Cape Town, it's heavy and it's so wind that for me it's disturbing because I don't like windy places. Um, but I could see slaves in her house during my penta practice in Cape Town, which is a tourist place. It's very beautiful, you know, and I never thought about that. And then I knew that there was a lot of slaves in Cape Town, but this is not very well known. People don't talk about that. That is interesting, that some things you just know by experience, not by the media, not by your colleague, but by yourself, but what you experience. So that's for me, it's important for you while watching this live now to think about that, that your experience is very valid and it's real. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
that's it because it's assistance, okay? So that's the real backs, okay? That's extra physical reorganization, that's assistance to the consciousness that is still locked in this Holothosene. So that's critical.
Yeah. So practicing pent in Africa was mainly here in South Africa and Mozambique. Yeah. I didn't have experience in other countries. When I was living in Mali, I did practice a lot of I did a lot of energetic work, but it was not penta. In Mauritania, I couldn't even do vibrational state. That was something that for me was like there's something wrong with me, but no, I think was the place I was. In the Sahara Desert, I couldn't in that place.
You couldn't,
Was
sorry?
I couldn't do the vibrational state.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some places are very challenging. I think it's better not even to do it. Mm. I don't know if Penta would work there, you know.
But security and common sense.
Yeah,
You have to
so
know your limits.
if you are in a place that you cannot even work your own energies with vibrational state, imagine with Penta. I don't know. That would be something interesting to try, you know.
Okay.
We need to be careful. We really need to be careful, to be honest. Yeah,
Yes.
especially in Africa, if you are doing penta and if you have a lot of ectoplasm, you really need to be careful. Just the only thing you have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a recommendation here from Anna. Giuliana, thanks a lot for sharing your experience. It would be helpful if you present in the Penta Forum that happens every December. It will help us to
Uh,
understand more Penta.
in fact, I did write an article for this event in December, and this presentation came out of that article. I don't know if it's going to be approved, but I'm here now sharing the experience. I hope the article will be approved, but let's see. Because
Okay.
firstly, I did write the article, and you'll be. I hope it will be published. Yeah, let's see. Yeah.
Okay. So, Juliana, one more time, thanks for the clarification that you bring about the topic about Penta. Okay, I think that's wonderful that everybody considers doing the Penta on the intraphysical basis where you are around the world. Okay, and then I just want to take a moment to um invite everybody again for the third International Week of Conscientiology in August. Okay, everybody will be welcome. Okay, so one more time, Juliana, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you share your experiences of Penta in other countries as well.
Me too. Thank you all. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.